Do you ever give almost 3 decades of your life to a company, thinking you'd retire with a handshake and a gold watch? Yeah, me too. But instead, I got a cardboard box, a forced smile from HR, and a security guard escorting me out the damn door. 3 days. That's all I needed. 3 frickin' days. And my pension 29 years worth would have been mine, fully vested, locked in. But nope, my boss Dale had other plans. Plans that didn't include honoring promises or treating people with dignity. I didn't see it coming either. Not really. Looking back now, sure, there were red flags. The budget, cuts meetings, the sudden silence from upper management. And Dale, he'd started avoiding eye contact, pretending to be busy any time I walked by. Still, I thought I was safe. I was the guy who trained half the damn department. I'd given my blood, sweat, and 2 herniated discs to that company. But I was wrong. Morning they called me into HR. I knew. My gut twisted before I even sat down. They said some bull about restructuring and downsizing. I asked if they realized I was 3 days from vesting. Dale just shrugged. It's nothing personal. Market's business. Business. Right? I left without making a scene. Took my box, my pride barely intact. But what Dale didn't know, what nobody knew, was that I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. See, I've got a daughter in cybersecurity. And I've got a good memory. Especially when it comes to shady stuff Dale's done over the years. Like that consulting invoice from his cousin's company. Or the warehouse equipment that never showed up, so I made a phone call. And that phone call, it started something that would make Dale wish he'd just let me retire in peace. Asterisk, I started at Axiom Logistics when I was 26. Back then, I had more hair, fewer wrinkles, and no clue how corporate snakes wore smiles so well. The job wasn't glamorous, but it was solid. I moved up slow but steady: forklift operator, warehouse supervisor, then logistics coordinator. Eventually, I became the senior operations lead. 29 years. I was loyal, reliable, boring, maybe, but dependable as hell. And Dale, he showed up about 6 years ago. Fresh from some tech startup, acting like he was God's gift to the supply chain. He had that Silicon Valley swagger, too much hair gel, always talking in buzzwords like synergy and workflow optimization. He didn't know crap about how we actually moved product, but he knew how to climb. Sucked up to the VP, threw his team under the bus when things went sideways, and somehow always landed on his feet. Still, I played along because I had one goal: hit 30 years, retire with my full pension, and buy that fishing cabin in Michigan like I'd always dreamed. Then came the meetings, budget review, downsizing talks, efficiency audits, the kinds of words that make long-timers like me nervous, but I still didn't think they'd touch me. I was the backbone of our department, for God's sake. Then, one Monday morning, I got the email. Subject: mandatory HR meeting 9 a.m. Please report to conference room B. I felt it in my gut. Cold, hard dread. I walked in and saw Dale already there, not even pretending to be uncomfortable. HR manager Susan was sitting stiffly next to him, her mouth set in that tight corporate frown. Dale cleared his throat. Mark, we're restructuring. Unfortunately, your position is being eliminated, effective immediately. I blinked. You do realize my pension vests in 3 days? Susan jumped in like she was reading off a cue card. We understand this is difficult, but per company policy, your tenure ends today. You'll receive a severance package equivalent to 6 weeks' pay. I tuned her out. All I could think about was those long nights, weekends sacrificed, birthdays missed, and surgeries postponed. For what? For this? I didn't yell. I didn't throw the chair like I wanted to. I just stood, nodded, and walked out. Security followed me to my locker. I boxed up my coffee mug, some old safety awards, and a framed photo of me and my daughter at Bring Your Kid to Work Day from 2007. When I got home, I didn't speak. I just stared at the walls. My daughter, Riley, was visiting for the weekend. She's 28, smart as hell, works for a government contractor doing cybersecurity. She saw my face and didn't need to ask what happened. They fired me, I said, 3 days before vesting. She didn't say anything at first. Then she whispered, "That's theft." That night, we stayed up late. I told her about Dale, about the invoices, the shady contractors, how he once approved a $130,000 consulting fee for his cousin's LLC, one that didn't even have a website. She looked at me carefully and said, "Dad, did you keep any of this?" I nodded. "It's all in my personal drive. I started saving stuff 5 years ago, just in case." She smiled. "Good, let me take a look." That was the moment everything shifted. I didn't know exactly what she had in mind, but I knew Riley, and if she said she was going to take a look, it meant something big was coming. The next day she asked me to drive to her apartment and bring the external drive I'd used as backup. "I'm not saying we go nuclear," she said, "but ... we might gently detonate a few truths." Asterisk, Riley wasn't playing ... Within 24 hours, she'd already mirrored my old files onto her workstation. She had dual monitors, lines of code flying by, and this intense look in her eyes. That reminded me of her mum during tax season. "This is worse than I thought," she muttered. "What do you mean?" She pointed at one folder. "Consultants _2018 _2023 Dad. This vendor, Delta Synergy Logistics, they've billed your company nearly $4.7 million over 5 years, but there's no online presence, no tax records, nothing. Just a P.O. box in Nevada. I raised an eyebrow. That's Dale's cousin's operation. He used to brag about it during lunch. Riley kept digging. And look at this. These pieces of equipment orders have identical timestamps and signatures, but they're 6 months apart. That's lazy fraud. Literally copy-paste. I stared at the screen, equal parts horrified and vindicated. Riley grinned. If we package this right and send it to the right place, someone's going down hard. I hesitated. You think they'll take me seriously? A fired employee with a grudge. She nodded. That's why we're not going to send it. I know someone inside the office of the Inspector General. She owes me a favor. My heart pounded. Wait, you're saying we go federal with this? Yup. Over the next few days, Riley prepped everything. We had screenshots, PDF files, metadata, email headers. She even tracked internal chat logs from Dale's old Slack messages, where he casually bragged about massaging the budget. The final straw, an email chain where Dale discussed cleaning house by firing tenured employees before their pensions vested. He literally used the phrase, trim the fat before the payout. That wasn't just unethical, that was illegal. We sent the entire file package to her contact, a woman named Alicia, working out of DC. She confirmed receipt within 2 hours. This is substantial. I'm flagging it for immediate review. I tried not to get my hopes up. Corporate fraud cases move slow, but at least now I wasn't screaming into a void. While we waited, I started writing down everything I remembered. Dates, conversations, suspicious meetings. Riley called it witness testimony documentation. She was training me like I was prepping for court then. 3 weeks after sending the report happened, Dale called me. I was out in the garage reorganizing my tools when my phone rang. His name lit up on the screen like a curse. I answered, slow. Hello, Mark, Dale said, his voice brittle. Hey, you just wanted to check in. No hard feelings about what happened, right? I nearly laughed. You checking in, after everything? There was a pause. Then he said, look, I think we got off on the wrong foot. I'm actually working on a new project and might have a position opening. I thought of you. I didn't say a word. He went on. Just think about it, okay? Maybe we can. I hung up. Riley stared at me from the doorway. That was him, wasn't it? Yep, she smirked. He's panicking. I bet the auditors called him. 2 days later I got confirmation that Alicia emailed Riley and said, investigation opened, initial findings verified, additional subpoenas likely. Please do not contact the target again. My stomach turned, not with fear, with satisfaction. For 29 years, I kept my head down, played by the rules, trusted the system, and the system nearly robbed me blind, but not anymore. Now it was Dale's turn to sweat. The email from Alicia confirmed it. The investigation was official and you could feel it, even from outside the company. Riley had set up a couple of Google alerts using internal project names from Dale's old emails. Within a week, stories began bubbling under the surface. A couple of logistics blogs picked up rumors of an internal audit at Axiom Logistics, and some LinkedIn posts mentioned unexpected resignations in upper management. I knew what that meant. They were circling the wagons. A former co-worker of mine, Jared from compliance, texted me out of nowhere. Hey man, weird question. Did you ever talk to anyone outside the company about Dale? Things are ... weird here. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't want to, but because Alicia had advised against it. Anything I said could contaminate the case. Instead, I kept quiet. Watched. Then, like a domino line starting to fall, things unraveled fast. 2 weeks in, Dale stopped showing up to work. 3 weeks in, his LinkedIn profile went dark. 4 weeks in, the company sent out a vague all-staff email about leadership changes and a renewed focus on integrity. Yeah, right. Then one night, Riley burst into the living room holding her laptop. You're gonna want to see this, she said, grinning ear to ear. She showed me an SEC filing, public record notifying shareholders of a federal investigation into fraudulent misappropriation of funds by a former executive. The name wasn't listed, but we both knew. Oh, and look at this, Riley added, clicking through to a Reddit thread under r/logisticsleaks. Someone had anonymously posted our VP was fired. Whole department under review. Rumor is he skimmed off contracts and ghost vendors. Calm as a bitch. I leaned back, stunned. For the first time in over a month, I let myself smile. Not the tired kind. The real kind, the kind you earn. Riley raised her glass. 2 pensions. And patience. I clinked my water bottle with hers, but that wasn't the end. The real twist came when I got a letter from Axiom. I nearly tossed it, thought it was more severance paperwork. But something told me to open it. Inside was a formal notice from their legal department. Upon further internal review, it has come to our attention that your termination may have been procedurally inappropriate and in violation of federal employment guidelines. Enclosed is a revised retirement agreement. ... double quotes. Wait, what? I read it again. They were reinstating my pension retroactively, full benefits, full payout, and get this, they were also offering me a consulting retainer, $75,000 to assist in the transition period and support compliance training initiatives. Translation: please don't sue us. I showed it to Riley. She burst out laughing. Oh my God, she said, they're trying to buy your silence. I didn't care. Let them. I wasn't in this for revenge anymore. Not really. I was in it for justice. For the 29 years I'd been invisible, overlooked, disposable. Now I was the damn storm. I signed the agreement after my lawyer reviewed every word and deposited the check. Then I bought the cabin in Michigan, the one I'd dreamed about since I was 35. And the day I left for good, I packed up my old work boots, my faded ID badge, and a single sticky note I'd written the day Dale fired me. 3 days. I crossed it out and wrote, one phone call. Asterisk. The cabin was quiet, peaceful in a way that made me realize how loud my old life had been. Each morning I'd wake up to the sound of birds, not emails. I'd make coffee on the deck and look out over the still water, sometimes wondering if it had all really happened. The firing, the file dump, Dale's fall, the letter from the company. Sometimes justice comes slow. Other times, it shows up like a freight train with no brakes. For the first few weeks, I kept expecting some other shoe to drop, some email, some letter, something telling me they'd changed their minds, that it was all a mistake, but it never came. Instead, what came were articles, news stories, whispers online turning into headlines. Former Axiom VP under federal investigation for wire fraud, whistleblower evidence triggers. DOJ probe corporate scandal, pension theft tied to widespread executive scheme. Dale's face clean-shaven, smug as ever, was plastered next to each headline. At first it felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's life implode. But it wasn't. It was mine, my life, my story. My pain finally being validated. What no one knew except Riley was just how close Dale had come to getting away with it. Had he waited just 3 more days, I would have been locked in. But no, he got greedy. Or arrogant. Probably both, and that was his mistake. I remember a voicemail he left about a month after the investigation went public. I still have it saved. Mark, hey, it's Dale. Listen, I know there's been some noise in the press. I just wanted to say if there's anything you can do to ease things up. Maybe clarify a few things. You know, I always respected you. Call me please. I never called back. Not because I hated him. I didn't. I just wanted him to feel what I had felt. Ignored, unimportant, powerless. It was poetic, really. Meanwhile, Riley's life was changing too. After the investigation, her friend at the Inspector General's office connected her with a cybersecurity firm that specialized in corporate fraud forensics. Within a month, she was leading a small team. They were already building a whistleblower support platform, part database, part secure pipeline for evidence submissions. I named one of the intake tools after you, she told me once. Called it Operation 3 Days. I nearly cried. Back in Michigan, I was getting used to the slower pace. People in town started calling me retired guy from that company's scandal. I never corrected them. I wasn't interested in being some kind of hero. But one day I was at the local hardware store picking up lumber for a deck project, and the cashier, young guy, maybe early 20s, said something that stuck with me. You, Mark, right, the guy who blew the whistle. My uncle works at Axiom's Chicago branch. Said they rehired all the guys they pushed out early, gave them back pay even. Said someone made that happen. Was that you? I didn't know what to say. I just nodded. He gave me a thumbs up. You did good, man. And for the first time in my entire career I felt seen. Months passed. Winter came. Snow fell heavy across the trees. I spent the holidays with Riley. We watched old movies, baked cookies from her mom's recipe, and for once didn't talk about corruption, files, or Dale. But on New Year's Eve, she surprised me. She pulled out her laptop, typed something, and handed it over. It was a draft email addressed to Axiom Board of Directors. I am the daughter of Mark C., former senior ops lead. I am also a cybersecurity expert and part of the investigative process that helped expose your internal fraud. I've compiled a set of ethical recommendations for whistleblower protection, pension oversight, and executive contract review. You may choose to ignore this, or you can read it as an opportunity. Consider this my application to consult on your recovery program. I don't need a job. I'm offering a shield. You'll want someone like me next time. I was stunned you're going back in. I asked. She smiled. Not really. Just giving them a chance to evolve. That's what you taught me. Revenge is hollow unless it leads to something better. Damn, she was right. As spring rolled in, I started receiving letters from some of my old co-workers. One of them, Linda, wrote, Mark, you don't know what you did for us. I got my pension back. I thought I'd never see a dime. I cried when I opened that envelope. I cried harder when I realized you did this for all of us. Another letter was from a guy I barely knew. Tony worked in logistics in Texas. I used to think loyalty didn't matter. You reminded me it does. Thank you. That's when I realized this wasn't just my story. It had become something bigger. Then one morning, a black SUV pulled up my gravel driveway. 2 men in dark suits stepped out. Riley froze. It's okay, I said, already knowing. They were with the DOJ Office of Special Investigations. One of them handed me an envelope and said, Mr. C., we wanted to deliver this personally. We appreciate your contribution. Inside was a certificate, official, gold seal and all. In recognition of your critical role in uncovering systemic fraud within Axiom Logistics, your actions have led to reform, recovery, and restitution for over 100 affected employees. It wasn't a medal, it wasn't a check, but it was everything. That night, I sat on the deck, whiskey in hand, feet kicked up on the railing. The lake was still, the stars were out. I looked at my phone. Dale's name was still in my contacts. I opened it, deleted it, and with that, the last weight lifted off my shoulders. They thought they could erase me, but I became the headline. The cautionary tale. The reason they think twice before screwing the next guy over. Some people chase revenge like a storm. Me, I just made a phone call and watched the storm.